Hello, good afternoon. Hello, Dan. How are you?
I am great. Thank you.
All right. I think you're back from tennis, and I'm heading to tennis, but we do have another big tennis final on the Australian Open between Yannick Sinner from Italy and Daniel Medvedev from Russia. So I know when we started the preview for the Australian Open, Sinner was your pick to win it all, and mine was Alcaraz or Djokovic. So let's kind of assess, how the Australian Open went, and look ahead to who you think is going to be winning. I know you've already picked Sinner, but I think you can provide like why you think Sinner will win the Australian Open tomorrow over Medvedev.
Yeah. I mean, to be quite honest, I've only seen a couple of Sinner's matches. It's tough with the Australian Open with the time difference and all that to see all of them. But I did catch most of the semifinal, unfortunately. For me, I'm a big fan of Djokovic, as you know, and the Sinner Djokovic semifinal on a Thursday night, which started around 10:30 p.m. our time. So I got to see a fair amount of that, and Sinner just jumped all over him right from the beginning, as you kind of alluded to in your recap already. Of the semifinal, and it was just it was just a story of too little, too late. Djokovic kind of spotted him 2 sets, and by the time he woke up and kind of got a semblance of what we're used to with Djokovic, it was just too late, unfortunately. And we've seen this a little bit. I think the reason why I picked Sinner is because I just, not that I've seen a lot of his game in person or on TV. It's just from over the last few months, I've just seen Sinner. He's been beating Djokovic now, and he has the confidence. I think, as we know, tennis is such a mental game, as well as physical and, physical prowess, but it's much more of a mental game, as you alluded to in your, I think, podcast too earlier today with once these players get the confidence and they get that, once they beat a player once or twice, they know they can do it. They've crossed that hurdle. And it's just a matter of, I think, him knowing he can do it. And with Djokovic, he beat him a few times last year in the Masters, and I think prior to
Twice.
that
Yeah.
also. So he knew he could beat him, and and he's just really he's just peaking right now at the right time. He had 0 break points right in that match against Djokovic.
Which is unheard of.
I've never heard of such a thing. I guess
Especially against
Djokovic, the
Djokovic.
best returner ever. Yeah, it's
Yes, the
crazy.
best return ever, and then Djokovic always gives him a chance. And just to see that, like even and again, Djokovic did win a set in the against Sinner, and the fact that he could not even have a break point against Sinner, even in
Yeah.
the third set, which he won, that tells you like how dominant Sinner was in the match.
Yeah, and I don't think. I was watching the match. I don't. It wasn't like. I mean, I guess he just has superior placement. It wasn't like he had that many aces. I don't believe or anything. It was just. I think just phenomenal placement, and I'm not really sure how. I was just dumbfounded. As was I think McEnroe, the commentator. And Chris Fowler. They were just wondering like, something's off with Djokovic. They kept on commenting, this is not the usual Djokovic we see, and I think it's more like you said, more of a testament to Sinner's just dominance in that match than Djokovic. Yeah, he didn't play his usual self, but is that because Sinner played so well? And I think it's more that than the latter.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah,
think that there was a little let down for Djokovic, and I know that Djokovic was usually he's dominant in usually all these tournaments, and he's not been his dominant self even against Fritz, right? Um, I mean, he did have chances. I mean, he was pretty good, but was not 100%. I would say Djokovic type that we're used to seeing. So going back, and now Sinner just takes on Medvedev. And Medvedev has been a great story in the Australian Open. He had like a lot of five setters that I mentioned earlier too. What do you think that Medvedev has to do to beat the unstoppable?
yeah. Wow. Well, I mean, his serve's going to have to be unstoppable. That's number one. Medvedev, he's got a great serve, and he can, definitely hold serve with the best of them. He's going to have just, I think, a really phenomenal serving day. Not providing Sinner with any breaks, obviously. And then I mean, Medvedev is just like a very similar version of Djokovic as far as just like the complete backboard. Everything comes back. So he's just going to have to, I mean, maybe he's going to have to mix it up a little bit because Sinner's really adapted his style. I think he's the last couple of years, until Sinner's really reached top 5 status, he's, hung in the rally for a little bit, and then he'll go for a big shot and make a mistake. And in that Djokovic match, the announcers kept on commenting too, how he's just willing to just grind it out and hang out in the rally with Djokovic, these 20 ball rallies. He wasn't looking to make a winner. So, I mean, if Medvedev's plan is just to kind of pound away, hang in a 20 ball rally and hope to get a mistake from Sinner eventually, I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to have to be a little more aggressive if he can, whether that means getting to the net or just hitting a little more pace on some of his balls. But I think he's going to have to be a little more of the aggressor and pick the spots correctly to do that at. Yeah. I mean, that's what do you see?
So I'm watching Medvedev's match against Zverev. I did get a chance to watch it before I left for work. The angles that Medvedev has is what keeps him in the game. He's not a player who's coming. He's not a serve and volley kind of player. He's not a player like Alcaraz that has the finesse. He's like you call it a backboard. Always for his opponent to make a mistake. And the other thing which I always see with Medvedev is that he doesn't seem very quick and mobile, but he's so underrated. I mean, he can just go. I think to me, it's almost like he has to sit and see who's going to blink first. Like who's going to blink first. Like both of them are not going to completely dominate each other with their serves. You're not going to see 15 aces from each of them. That's for sure. You're probably going to see a lot of rallies. A lot of move the player from one side to another and then come to the net to just finish off with like a easy put away or things like that. So while I give Medvedev a chance, I think I do have to agree with you picked Sinner all the way even 2 weeks ago, and I think you're going to stay with Sinner. And I have a feeling that Sinner is also going to win. I'm not going to go against it, but my only thing I would say is that Medvedev has a chance because the one thing is that he's battle tested, he was actually 2 sets down against Zverev and won, and Zverev actually should have won this match. So for Medvedev to hang in there, he believes that he can come back even if he's down, while Sinner has not been really tested. Even against Djokovic, he was not really tested. So that tells you that Medvedev is a little more, I would say, tested this time around. But I think I'm leaning, I would say, 60-40 Sinner for me too.
Yeah. And there's 2 things I'll bring up too. One thing, I did a quick Google search this morning. Head-to-head, Medvedev, Sinner. I think Medvedev leads it. They've never met in a Grand Slam, I don't believe. Only in just non-Grand Slam. So they only played 2 out of 3 set matches. Nothing 3 out of 5.
Right.
Medvedev, I think, leads 6-3 overall, but I think the last 3 have all been won by Sinner. So kind of like how Sinner got hot against Djokovic over the last, we'll call it 4 months. He's got the confidence now to beat Djokovic. I think he obviously has the confidence to beat everyone. He's beat Alcaraz too, I believe. I'm sure he has. He had match point, I remember, at the US Open 2 years ago and almost beat him a couple of years ago. So he's got the confidence to beat everyone. Medvedev, though, as we saw from as we've seen in person, he's kind of like Djokovic. He kind of feeds when the people kind of start rooting against him. He kind of welcomes the crowd when he's kind of the villain or the bad guy, and he gets stronger as the match goes on. So 3 out of 5, is, I think, going to favor possibly a Medvedev if it goes deep, just because mentally he's so strong, much like Djokovic. As that match goes on, you just kind of, he's going to wear down the other guy mentally. And as we saw in Breakpoint Netflix special, remember the Medvedev Zverev little rivalry there with all the games, all the gamesmanship bordering on bad sportsmanship that Medvedev tries to pull off during a match, and it gets to people's heads and irritates them. And we'll see if Sinner has to deal with any of that. We'll call it gamesmanship from Medvedev, and see how he does with it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's where you bring up a good point in terms of, and that's a great stat to bring as well. 6-3, but Sinner's got the last 3. It is going to be an exciting battle. I hope that we get to watch even a few sets, getting up early. to watch these. Hopefully, we can get to watch some of those. But I think great pick by you picking Sinner, and hope you're right because I think my prediction is out. Alcaraz is watching the match.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a fun match to watch. And then I think one other thing is that I already did it, but kudos to Sabalenka again for getting back to back. And I think
Yep.
she's incredible. I think now she's got the confidence.
Yeah.
I think there's more majors in store for her now.
No, I fully agree. It's like you said. It's once they do it once, then they know they can do it. And for her, it's just a matter of getting that first notch in the belt. And once she got that first one last year, then I think she got to every semifinal last year, right? All 4 semis she reached to the Grand Slams.
Right, she did.
Yeah.
She did.
So she knows she can do it now, and she can hit the ball as hard, as big a ball as anyone out there. So she's here to stay. I think for at least a couple of years. It looks like.
Yep. I mean, I think she's only young, so I think she's probably going to be there for a little longer. But anyway.
Yeah, hopefully. But the ladies just seem like they don't stick around as long with the dominance. It's, like look at Iga. She was dominant, and then like now she's starting to have some tough times in a few of the Grand Slams. So it's
that's true.
Yeah, we don't see the dominance from the ladies for some reason right now. But maybe it'll be different with Sabalenka. Yeah.
All right, so I think that pretty much wraps up our Australian Open recap, and I think we have a lot of other sports that are there. We have the Super Bowl, then we'll get to the March Madness in a couple of months, then we'll get to the golf, and then we'll get to the French Open. So there's a lot more to come. And then, as always, thank you, Dan, for your great insight into the recap and preview. So looking forward.
All right, good luck at tennis, Sheree.
All right, thank you so much, Dan. Appreciate it.
Bye.